All right, we're up. This is the Hour Time with Troy By, and let's see, how do I even begin to explain this? But Rosalie, is that a named after grandmother?
Yes, my grandmother on my dad's side.
On your dad's side?
She was also Rosalie Holcombe. So,
And you have a sibling, right?
I have one brother in right outside of Atlanta in Roswell. He has a beautiful family. Love my sister-in-law and two nephews. One is brand new, so very
Really?
exciting. Yes.
Like, how new is brand new?
He was born in April.
Wow.
And they both are just so adorable. Just went over there recently. Got to see both of them.
You know, with the, I'm just tripping up on Roswell, but Roswell, New Mexico is the Roswell I think most of us are familiar with.
Okay.
I think it has to do with like aliens or some nuclear facility. I think
so too.
Rosalie is another. I think Bob Jones High School sets the record now for the number of alum that I've had on this show that have come from Bob Jones. I've had a few from Grissom. I've had a few from Huntsville. No one old enough yet that would have graduated from Clemens. That's still kind of new. But turns out you know Erica Despain.
Mm-hmm,
You guys are buddies. Mm-hmm. How well did you like hang together back in the day?
I was a pretty isolated art kid, so I was in the art room like half the day in school. But I've always known Erica and liked her. So
Okay.
yeah. So
that's cool. Another native, but well, I shouldn't say native. You grew up in Birmingham, right?
correct. Mm-hmm.
And ironically, now the math works out where you said that half your life you've lived in Birmingham and now half your life in Madison,
Correct.
right? And your father is well known as a member of the city council, and your mother was a teacher, right? So many people that will watch this know the Holcombes. Fair to say?
Possibly, yeah, yeah. My dad has gotten out and socialized a bit. My mom has too. So
Okay. So let's start with kind of why you're here, and that is for the newly branded Madison Arts Alliance, correct?
correct. Mm-hmm.
Formerly Art Council. It may have even had a different name than that before. Let's start with you. Later, we're going to talk about, scholastically. I'll just highlight right now as a primer. You get a scholarship to Montevallo. I don't know if it's Montevallo or not, but
That's it.
I do speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I say Montevallo.
Yeah, it's Montevallo.
Montevallo.
Yeah.
My first name is Monty, by the way.
Oh, really?
My given name.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. So you got a art scholarship. We'll return to that. So art has been in your blood. It's something you're really good at. Yes, you happen to sell real estate, but art's really your passion.
Truly, I love both.
Okay.
Now, art is something that I've been doing forever, but home ownership matters.
Yeah.
And got into that. So I am part salesperson, realtor, also part artist. So I'm just a blend of a person.
Yeah.
And both matter a lot to me. And love art. And I think probably my first interest in real estate was doll houses. I was really into dolls and doll houses as a kid. And of course, my parents buying houses, and I picked their home that they live in now, that they, first moved up here. I have a really good picker when it comes to real estate.
Okay.
So I love both.
Picker in the sense of how that home's going to fit your clients.
Right. And just the area, if a person will like that area, if it'll fit their needs, just kind of a little bit of forethought of thinking about what their needs are, because everyone's different. Some people love the Cliff Farm, Village at Oakland Springs areas. Some people want to be on an acre or 5 acres. It just depends on what they're looking for. So.
And you have the advantage of spent half of your life here now.
Right.
And mostly in those years that your formative years, right? I guess it'd be one thing for you to go back down to Birmingham and sell real estate. I would assume you'd have to catch up a little bit on those areas versus kind of like as a teenager or young adult, you might look through the lens a little bit Does this make sense? Kind of like if you had clients come to you now, I would, it would seem like as an adult, having spent your adult years here, you would more easily be able to think through those scenarios of, hey, you're going to like this area over another, versus maybe in Birmingham where maybe they're just more childhood memories, or no?
So I went to Montevallo in Birmingham. So I've lived all over Birmingham.
Okay.
Grew up in, our first house was in Eastlake. We moved to Vestavia. Then we moved up here. Then I went down to Montevallo. Then was in Calera and Alabaster and Hoover.
Oh, wow.
And I have family all over Birmingham. Family that grew up in Center Point, and family in Homewood, and family in Hoover, and Chelsea. So I have a lot of people in Birmingham that I still am connected with, friends and family. So I'm down there quite a bit, and really do know Birmingham very well. And of course know Madison and Huntsville as well.
Okay. Yeah. And then like you had just said, I guess I was following up on, of course, if they write an article on you and you've appeared in the Madison Record a few times, and at the time when you're leaving high school, of course, your dream is to pursue art. However, like you just said, you also have to, in practical terms, right? As much as everyone wants to make it big and be a musician or an artist, sometimes you have to look for a way to pay the bills.
Correct.
Real estate, interior design, if you will, seems to blend quite well with a budding artist, right? Where now that really makes sense, where you have this ability to somewhat differently show your artistic talent, right? As you work with clients on a particular property, whether that's an existing home or a new home. Now, what about on the new build side? Do you, is that more difficult than just an existing home where you see promise of, hey, we could do this or this or this to it, or does it really matter to you?
I could go on about this forever. There are pros and cons to both, to selling a new construction home. And then there are pros and cons to selling, a resale home. And it all depends. I mean, every home situation is different. And that's what makes real estate actually a very creative career. Every client is different. Their needs are different. The contracts are different every single time. So it keeps you interested. And when it comes to new construction versus a resale home, every builder is different and their rules are different. There are builders out there that are completely custom. And I've worked for a couple of those, where you go in and you work with an architect and they fully design your home. They design every aspect of it. They give you a budget to select your countertops, your flooring. They don't give you a choice of 6 like some other builders. And real estate, really, it just depends on what you're looking for. I bought from a builder, and that builder was a builder that, gave you a selection of 6, and that was okay. I would love to have a custom home one day, because it is just very neat to watch that experience. And I got to do that. I worked at the Village at Oakland Springs, and they have fully custom builders there where you go in and you get with the architect. And so that's what makes real estate also a creative pursuit for me. So I love it just as much as I love art.
I wonder, as appealing as it seems to have like unlimited options, sometimes it might be, I think in my mind, I might actually prefer when someone just limits my choices. Here, you got 6. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you go buy carpet, and or a couch or something, and you don't like what's on display, and like, oh, no problem. Come over here and we'll let you choose. And then you're like, oh, wow. And then there's the aspect of, okay, now you have to pick a pattern, color you might like, but then there's the price differences. If you choose from this, you choose from that, you're like, oh my goodness. There's just so many choices.
But there are some people who love it.
Do they?
Who just, they love, filtering through Pinterest pages and looking at all they're not interior designers, but they should be.
Really?
They are. And I'm kind of the same way. If I go out to eat, I don't like to go to Cheesecake Factory because there's 20 pages and I'm like, I just need like 5 choices. I'm a little overwhelmed. So I'm kind of the same way, although it's really tempting seeing those custom homes that were built. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And then some of the builders actually have interior designers that they work for.
Yeah.
If you say like, hey, I have no idea what's going on with interior design, can you just do it for me? And then they will create packages for you. So every builder is different. You get the builder that they build spec homes and it's, you get what you get, take it or leave it. And really those homes, the selections that they pick out for those homes are beautiful anyway. It's just not fully custom.
Yeah.
So
My buddy used to work for a luxury builder. It was Toll Brothers in kind of the Mid-Atlantic region. Mm-hmm. And so we go down to Jupiter, Florida. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these builders will have, well, I shouldn't say a lot of them. Toll Brothers happen to have an extremely, it's another income class of a neighborhood down in Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter and Jupiter Island is a lot of where like the PGA Tour golfers live, right? And Tiger Woods,
right.
It's not far away. So we go down to this community, and then what they did was there's one home that's in this community that the employees of Toll Brothers, like across the nation, can kind of bid on staying there. So like every week of the year, it's rented out by a different family, and you kind of just put in for it. Well, he wins one year, so we go down to this house, and of course it's a beautiful home. And we're amazed at the marble and the detail in the wood. And I mean, these are, they're probably $2.5 million to start.
Right.
Right. And so, we just think there were this incredible house, and we go golfing at this incredible golf course. Frenchman's Reserve is the name of the community. Well, then one day he's like, hey, I want to go tour some of the other homes, just as he works for the company and he wants to just check them out. He's curious, number one. And number two, just, I wonder how it compares to the one we're in. Oh, wow.
Right.
So then you step into now you're looking at the $4 and $5 million option. Mm-hmm. And it made ours look like we were house poor in this $2.5 million house. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. He's like, dude, this is next level.
Yeah.
He was just blown away.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you, there are times I have shown some gorgeous homes, and then you go home, you pull in your own driveway, and you're like, well, but it's something to aspire to.
You should tell your dad. This is a joke from Dave Chappelle. He's kind of talking about growing up in Maryland, where he grew up. He's like, sometimes I go sleep over at a buddy's house, and all I could do was come home and tell my parents, you need to step up your game. He's like, everything works in Timmy's house. Did you ever have that sleepover with a friend where hey man, let's play this video game? It's broken. Really?
Right.
Hey, let's go out and play on your new basketball hoop. It's broken. Mm-hmm. Does anything work here? Yeah. And it just made me laugh because old Timmy's house, everything works.
Yeah. It's like going to, I can remember this one girl in particular. They had all the best snacks,
Yeah.
They had all the Oreos and Dunkaroos and all the stuff. And I was like, oh, I've got an older brother that eats all of the fruit roll-ups and stuff, Yeah. So.
All right. So let's come back to the real estate, but let's talk about the Madison Arts Alliance. Mm-hmm. So I want you to first describe how it fits in with the Madison Visionary Partners. Mm-hmm. On the nonprofit side, the funding side, and then kind of explain the alliance, what it is, and kind of what you've done since you've gotten involved.
Okay. So what we did is we took the former Madison Arts Council, and there are a lot of volunteers that worked really hard over the years to build that up. During COVID, it kind of fell off. So what we did is we put it under Madison Visionary Partners so that we could regain the 501c3 status. And Madison Visionary Partners acts as our fiscal sponsorship, so we can operate under them until we regain that 501c3 status. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. we're building up our board, our volunteers, our membership. We just finished up the Sounds of Summer concert series. We did 5 summer concerts, which is a staple. They had been done at the gazebo for a number of years, but now that the new amphitheater has been completed at Home Place Park, are you familiar with that? Where that is?
No.
Okay, so it's right behind Chilla Bay Dessert Bar
Okay.
and Honest Coffee,
Okay.
right next to the football stadium.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it's a really beautiful amphitheater. And we did all of our summer concerts there. We had 5 different bands, and every single one of them was amazing to work with. We have great videos that were taken by one of our members, Quay Pitts, and they are all on our Instagram and Facebook, so you can go and check those out to see what our concerts look like. So we just finished that up.
So real quick, was that a huge success? Did it end up being better than you thought it was, the summer concert series?
Absolutely. I took over in February, and our first concert was at the beginning of June. I had never done anything like that before, and we didn't have a website. We didn't have a logo. We didn't have, any connections with the bands or anything. I didn't know how to do any of it. And so really we all came together and when I say all, I mean Madison Visionary Partners. They have been excellent guidance for me. The city, Parks and Rec, our board, our volunteers that we have, and we are an all volunteer based group right now. So it really went very well. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I would love to see Home Place Park, it attended better next summer. But we still are babies as far as, our organization, and it's getting the word out there and promoting it. So just going to continue to work on that, promoting Madison Arts Alliance and what we're doing and what we're building.
So is COVID responsible for really kind of derailing the progress of what used to be the Madison Arts Council, right? To what is now, the Alliance, and was, could speak to how it ended up in the state it was, that caused you to kind of come in and have to revitalize it.
Well, it being an all volunteer base, which I want to get it to the point that, we do have paid positions because it's a lot of work.
Right.
To have nice things, we really need to have those paid positions. And that's why we're pushing on getting the 501c3. And it being all volunteer based, people are busy. Their lives, they've got their own careers and families and everything. And, volunteer based sometimes gets pushed to the side. So it kind of, and with COVID, it just amplified, the isolation and the lack of events. And then I reached out to the former president and just said, hey, I hadn't seen any events, I'd love to help. And she had been doing it a long time and was ready to pass it off. So that's really how it happened.
Okay. Yeah. It seems, now it seems very, logical or obvious that, of all the people I've had on that are representing a nonprofit, the one thing in common is at least one position was full-time or paid. Right. It's their job. And you can obviously see the effect on, of course it's a good thing. And I was talking about this with Renee and the episode is just as far as there's so many good things out there, whether those are just programs, and we were kind of talking about how there might be people who are critical of their local government on not doing X, Y, and Z. And then when I was telling her, well, those people should probably go to a council meeting so they can have a better understanding of all the things that we would love to get done. And they're all good things, but there's only so much money, or there's only so many people that can, help make those things come to pass. And if you're going to complain, then help out. Right, just be one extra volunteer.
Absolutely.
But then that person sometimes may be in a point of life where like, yeah, I'm going to do it, and then their circumstance changes, and then they can't. And so all of these nonprofits and these organizations have to have at least one full-time, if not two, right, to really make things hum.
Absolutely. And you're spot on with that. We really shouldn't have an excuse as to why we don't know what's going on locally, because, the city council meetings are put on YouTube.
That's right.
And you can go and attend. If you're really passionate about something, you need to show up. The council meetings I have gone to, there's maybe 20 people in the audience.
Really?
Oh yeah. And I really believe that your local politics affect you a lot of times more than national. Because that's your schools, that's your roads, that's, traffic lights and greenways and all of those things. I really believe that you need to know what's going on locally and voting locally. The turnout for voting just isn't always there. We really, as citizens, all need to take that seriously.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I would refer people back to episode 80 with Renee, because we talk about this low voter turnout and such. And she said, she was talking about how she will talk to, college kids can be somewhat of a disadvantage because they're registered to vote back where they live,
right,
somewhere in the state. Let's say they're in state and they're up at UAH, but they're from wherever, Dothan or I don't know, and they can't make it home to vote, that type of thing. But if you survey young people, or I shouldn't say just young people, they'll vote in the presidential elections. They'll vote in the gubernatorial election, but they won't necessarily in local. And she's like, but you have it, like, you're going to see me at the store. You're going to see me, her being, Renee saying, you're going to see me at the football games. Like, you have access to me far more than the president or the governor, who you're never going to meet.
Absolutely.
And it's just so counterintuitive in a way. Like, you actually have a chance to have a say in politics. And okay, let's just say you didn't vote for her and you voted for someone else. Well, you go to the meeting, go to the council meetings, brief the council, give your presentation, have your voice heard.
Right. And one of the advantages for me in doing this and being able to get it done pretty quickly is I know all of the city council people and the mayor and the park, and Corey Alford with Parks and Rec. I have relationships with these people, and I also have relationships with artists and business people. I was able to call and get sponsors for the Sounds of Summer concert series very quickly. Every single one of the businesses and I want to plug them for a second. That's Murphy Homes Builder, located in downtown Madison. That's the Jeff York team with Essential Real Estate. That's Jacqueline Klein with Alpha Insurance. And then the Hoffman Group with Stockton Mortgage. And he is a loan officer and he is wonderful. All four of those businesses are excellent. They quickly said yes to a sponsorship without really knowing what we had going on. So super grateful for them. Those sponsors really are kind of the backbone of local events.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to really look at those banners and logos and who is supporting, because we all need to be really aware of which businesses. Redstone is one. They constantly are sponsoring something.
The credit union?
Yes.
Yeah, they are amazing that way.
Yep.
I've noticed them I've gone to all kinds of different events, some of them in different industries, and they're always there. They're always giving back.
Right.
So Jeff is Jeff York, right? Let's use him. That group of companies you just mentioned, Alpha, Jeff York, that whole list. I'm assuming you go in, they don't know a lot about the Alliance, Madison Arts Alliance. What is the pitch to them in the sense of, and I may have missed it before, kind of the mission of the Alliance, and what is the pitch you're giving to them?
So for all of those sponsors, they all know me personally.
Okay.
So that's a start. And if you see what Arts Huntsville has done with their incredible organization, they do a lot of promotional stuff. And they know that I'm an art person, but I'm also a business person. So they know that I'm going to do them well. And I put them on the flyers. And not only that, I put out the flyers at City Hall, posted on social media, announced it before every concert who our sponsors were. We did videos, with their logos on it. So, it was, and allowed them, if they wanted to set up or pass out promotional materials, at the concerts. So they knew for me that they were okay, signing on to be a sponsor, because they knew I'm a business person as well. And that I understood what it meant for them to sponsor something like that.
And it's not just it's all, basically you're there to promote all forms of art, whether that's music or murals, or like, actually, let's just showcase my daughter's painting here, like maybe workshops, right? Just, I guess, the proliferation of art into Madison. Is that accurate?
Correct.
In all its forms.
We currently do not have a single mural in the city of Madison. So we're working hard on getting murals into the city so that we can be involved in the mural trail that, encompasses the state. Public sculpture. I specifically with a sculpture concentration and have a public sculpture myself.
Is that this one right here?
It is.
That's your award-winning sculpture?
Yes. And funny enough,
The frog.
it has been up for 13 years. And this spring, it got crushed by a tree.
Are you serious?
It did, yeah. Yeah. So that was baby Rosalie. And I got to plug my professor, Ted Metz. Love him to death. And he's the one that taught me how to weld.
Baby Rosalie. Yeah, and you went out and got, this is at Montevallo. And you went out and got this metal from like a scrapyard or something.
You're correct.
Right? And then they helped you learn some techniques on how to work with the metals?
So the really wonderful thing about my professor, Ted Metz, is he saw exactly who I was immediately, and he knew I wanted to do it myself and I'll figure it out. And so he just backed off, and he knew that about me, and he just watched me work through my different issues, with, this piece isn't fitting here. I need to move it here. I hardly ever asked him for, hey, how do you do this?
Really?
Yeah. But he knew that about me. He could read me, and he knew I wanted to figure it out.
So is this require, like, is that welding and cutting and bending?
That's a MIG welder, plasma cutter, and I'm thinking there's one other tool, but I can't think of the name of it right now. So yeah,
and you just figured it out.
Well, he taught me the basics of how to weld, get your bead right,
Yeah.
And kind of just let me go from there. And that was the really fun thing about that class is it was a public sculpture class. And this is the wonderful thing about Montevallo is at the time, it was a summer class that me and 2 other students created those. There's also a dragonfly that's down there and a beautiful crane. So there's a frog, a crane, and a dragonfly that are down there in Ebenezer Swamp. And that's a research swamp. And it's all about recycled material because a swamp recycles material. And it's really important for our ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it was really fun because there were only 3 of us in the class. And Montevallo was able to do that at the time. And I had looked at the University of Alabama, but I was so overwhelmed when I went there. I felt like it was too big for me.
Yeah.
And Montevallo, I think at the time, was actually smaller than the enrollment at Bob Jones. So it really allowed me the opportunity to know my professor on a personal level.
Yeah.
And so my professors and I, particular to Ted Metz, we still text. And because of my sculpture getting crushed, I plan on going down there sometime this fall, and we're going to take a welder out to the swamp and put it back together.
The other classmates were what? Kirsten and Jim, and they also have their sculptures down there.
They do.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at the article that was written on you in the Madison Record. This guy was really good to you. Who was the author of this one? Shoot, he's not there. It was a guy.
Was it Greg Parker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was him.
He's always been good to me.
Yeah. Maybe was your dad like paying him or something? You better give my daughter good press.
You'd think so. No, I think, it's funny. When we were emailing about Arts Alliance, he said, I don't have your email address. And I was like, oh no, you do. It's been a number of years that we've, emailed back and forth, but, so it's relationships.
Yeah.
That is really what your network is your net worth, you know?
Yeah.
So, relationships is what matter. And that's how you're able to get things done.
It's true.
So,
And you're finding that more and more in real estate. Well, every discipline, right?
right.
I was sorry. I just have to tell you a funny, and I'm going to refer you to episode 63 with Karen Peterson from Wellstone. And she has this crazy story. Her story is amazing. She was an alcoholic for like 20 years. And she first was introduced to alcohol when she was 15. And she goes on a date with this like prom. It wasn't prom, but it was like a formal date, high school thing. And this kid who's also 15 shows up to her house, like driving his family van to take her to dinner and then this dance and stuff. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, what do your parents say about him? She's like, well, I'm sure she didn't really remember. It's like, I'm sure we lied.
Right.
That he didn't have a driver's license and all this kind of stuff. Well, then they go to, and that's one thing that's kind of strange, right? You're like, wow, a 15-year-old kid just shows up. Nowadays, I'm sure that would be, vetted a little bit more. This was a different time, different era. But then what's even more strange is they're like at dinner at this very fancy restaurant, and the kid orders a bottle of wine somehow. It's 15 years old, and they drink the wine, and that was like her first, introduction to alcohol. And I kind of made that comment. So I was just saying, like, well, maybe who's this guy's dad? Because maybe he was just like the scariest dude in town, and no one was going to mess with like the fact that, hey, his kids can drive wherever they want. They can order wine whenever they want. Right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And she's like, I never thought about that before. I was like, I'm just saying, like, yeah, it just seems weird. She's like, yeah, it is kind of strange that he ordered wine, but in a town that you would think maybe it's small enough that everyone would know everybody, but it just made me flash back to that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Everything I do is like, it's just one big story of North Alabama, and we talked a little bit earlier about some of the people and how there's all these interconnections and stuff. And I just, as I talk to people, these things just pop in my mind. Right. They're like similar things.
And the longer you're here, the more you get to know. I mean, everyone, we are just all so connected, and they say worldwide there's only 7 degrees of separation. Right. So.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
What, I guess, can you just take us a little bit, maybe it's not on the policy side, but just behind the scenes on besides the summer, concerts, what other types of things are at least in your brain that you want to bring forward to Madison related to the arts? So
short term, we are going to be involved with Madison Street Festival. Very
cool.
Exciting.
Yeah.
We're going to do a community art project in Artist Alley. Madison Street Festival has been so very kind to invite us and allow us to have a presence there. We also are going to have an award for best display that we give out to one of the artists in Artist Alley. Then we're going to do Christmas Card Lane, which we are changing to Holiday Card Lane, so that we encompass all religions. And that goes down. Oops. And that goes down. Sorry. And that goes down. One of the roads in downtown Madison, and it's done every year. There haven't been any new cards put out, and what the cards are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay. So, it's like a 4x8 wood, panel.
Oh, cool.
And each artist is given that panel, and they draw something that pertains to the holidays on it, or paint something that pertains to the holidays. And for years and years and years, it has been done. And then, so we're going to do that, and we're really going to push, more artists to get out and do it. And hopefully we can get some sponsorships with it. So it just involves more people, so more people understand, what we're doing.
And where will those be displayed and located?
Downtown Madison.
Downtown Madison. Okay.
I think it is, I can't remember the street name. It's the It's the one typically that they have that has the church on it, the Methodist church. The Methodist.
You come over, if you're going down Mill, right, you cross over Sullivan, and then that church, and then you go down, I guess, at Tees. It kind of ends, right? Is that right?
Downtown Madison, where Old Black Bear is and all of that.
Okay.
So right kind of where Madison Street Festival is.
Okay.
So Old Black Bear and Lemon and Lavender and all those places, Main Street Cafe.
Gotcha.
So just right around the corner. And we're working with the Historical Society, Preservation Society. And they put on, like the Christmas parade and all of that. So we're going to work with them and have some fun activities to do that night. They do the tree lighting and all of that. So that's short term where we are, on activities. Short term where we are on public art is we are working towards getting the first mural.
Okay.
We are working towards getting some of the sculptures have been broken or, paint's chipped off, that kind of stuff. So replacing sculptures. So we have activities and then we have public art that we're working on short term. Long term, do you want to go into long term now?
Yeah.
Okay. Long term, I really envision with the community center opening up, doing art programs. So having, painting classes, ceramics classes, theater camps, for kids to do in the summer and, for adults to do these things too. This community center, it would be very nice for it to encompass all of the hobbies for all of the age groups and, cooking classes and aerobics and, there's going to be a patio off the back. Have you seen the video of the community center?
No.
Okay. That is posted on the city website. And it kind of goes through a rundown of what it's going to look like. It's going to have, birthday party areas, talking about birthday parties, so that people can rent those and they don't have to worry about bringing people into their home. Birthday parties and art gallery stuff and woodworking and ceramics and cooking classes. Very much an activity center.
Yeah.
And we want to do those things, those programs for everyone. So whether
and that community, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and that community center is the one that's off of Browns Ferry, just north of Heritage or kind of northeast of Heritage Elementary. Is that right? Through the woods?
Right. So it's off Huntsville Browns Ferry. Right across from, it's the old Three Springs building. It backs up to the Walden subdivision.
Okay.
And right across the street from the Bradford area. Right in that across from the horse farm too, and that's gonna be part of the community center. So it is gonna be. They plan to open that community center February of 2025. I know that sounds like a long time from now, but working in real estate, it's really not. It's really just right around the corner. So we are busy trying to see what we can do, how best we can suit our community.
Actually, I just realized I was in my mind. So if you come off Gillespie and you take a right on Browns Ferry, it's down on the left, correct? The community center, just past that church.
Yes.
Okay.
Movement Church.
The Movement Church, and on the other side of the street, that's where the horse farm is, and the long driveway. I was thinking there was a building that I'd never seen that had this long driveway that went down there. So it's just past the Grove.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense now. Gotcha. Well, that's exciting.
It's so exciting.
And as you talk to all these, like the Preservation Society, and you talk to the Madison Street Festival folks and others, are they getting excited and maybe re-excited because they've been here a long time and it's like, oh, this is so great. And they're giving you profuse thanks for your time and attention?
So I know them. I know them personally as well.
You know everybody.
I do. And so that's what makes it good is they already know me, and we work well together. So getting things done is so much easier that way. And they're excited for us. I'm excited for them because we all are going to make each other better.
Yeah.
If we work together and combine our talents. It's just really important.
Is there any form of art other than the murals, which you've kind of touched on? Is there any form of art that's really underrepresented that you think, you have a personal passion to bring to the forefront?
Well, all art is very underrepresented to me in Madison. I have been kind of sitting for years thinking, we don't have anything. And actually, I was inspired by going out to Vail, Colorado last year. Went out there. They have murals everywhere,
Really?
Public sculptures everywhere, art galleries. And I thought, in the center of their downtown, it's just gorgeous. And I thought, Madison is an absolutely wonderful place to live. We are all blessed to live here. We've got great schools. It's safe. It's, it's clean. We've got great shopping. We've got all these things, but what we don't have is any culture, any arts, and we've got plenty of sports. There's plenty of things for kids to do that involve sports. But there are so many kids out there just like me who would love to go to a painting class. And our schools do a great job, with the arts programs in the schools, but those teachers need a break.
Yeah.
So summer theater camps are important. Summer art camps are important. And not every kid is going to be baseball, softball, football, volleyball. There are plenty of kids, just like with Chess League. There are plenty of kids out there who feel underrepresented. And I could agree with that. We want all kids to be involved and to find their own friends, if it's through band or if it is through baseball or, I don't know, tennis, whatever the kid's interest is.
Yeah.
But I was kind of forced into sports, it was the 90s and I just,
What, with like soccer and stuff? Gymnastics?
T-ball. My
T-ball?
dad put me in T-ball when I was 4, but I did meet my best friend there. So we're still best friends. And so that, I was like, okay, I'll let it go, But I was put into sports and I just really am not a sports person.
Yeah.
I would have been better off, in an art camp, some type of visual arts. So.
Yeah. Well, and, I, as an adult now, I've really got into cooking, and I don't know what it was. It kind of started with like the, I guess it's stereotypical, like guys like do more backyard cooking, but now, and it kind of started with that, but now I'm really like, I'm like all in on creating sauces or I used to have this, I guess, fear. I'd look at a recipe and be like, oh, I can't do this. And I wouldn't even bother to try. Now it's like, I love it. I love finding all the ingredients, and then I'm even getting to the point where I learn about, like, I can substitute for this or substitute for that, or I can just do without that. But I really love cooking. I think, doing this thing, it just has touched on a little, creativity. And you find that even when you're marketing, right? When you're on the business side of just the creative element, the art influence that comes out of your brain on how do you market a property.
Right.
To whomever.
Right.
And, so it's such a huge part of our lives.
It is. And everyone, you say, oh, I'm an artist. And they say, oh, I could never. And it's like, gardening is art.
Yeah.
Cooking is art. Renovating a vehicle.
True.
It's all art. It's all creation. It's all, being creative. It's like, it's not just drawing and painting and, music, theater. It's so much more than that. There are just a lot of practices of art.
Yeah.
That we can look at.
We were talking about games earlier. Do you guys ever play Jackbox.tv?
I have not.
Oh, you've got to play this.
Okay.
So you have to have a computer that connects out to Jackbox.tv, and there's all these cool games, and then you play from your phone. So you put a room code in, you can put your name, and usually it's up to 8 players. So there's games that are like trivia, of course. There's like something called Quiplash. There's all these games. They're a lot of fun. But there's this one game, and it occurred to me because before we hit record, we were talking about TikTok a little bit. You were asking me if I was on TikTok. And then you had mentioned trends, keeping up with trends. And so it's very interesting. There's this game called TKO,
Yeah.
T-shirt KO. And I love it because the Japanese have always been so good at game soundtracks, or the game musical score, if
Right.
you will, to games, and it goes back to like Nintendo and Atari, and they just excel at that. And so, and I think it's a Japanese game, but the idea is and this Jackbox has been around a while. TKO's been around a while, but you take this T-shirt game, and you have to first draw something on the T-shirt. There's the artwork piece. Then there's a part of the game where you just come up with funny captions.
Right.
Then you go to the part of the game where you now take a piece of art that's been done and a caption and put them together on the T-shirt. And so then it kind of goes to all of the games in Jackbox. A lot of times you're kind of being judged. You're going against somebody else. So here's my design where I've used someone else's artwork, someone else's caption, but I have put them together. And then my T-shirt goes up against this other T-shirt. And then if I win, I get points, but then also the artist gets points and the captioner gets
Cool.
points, right?
Very cool.
And I started thinking, this is no different than when I do like a clip on Instagram or YouTube or in this TikTok. All these creators out there are now producing these sound clips to be used. I am, in this case, the artist. I've come up with the video content and I have my own audio track. But if I want to, I can mix in something, right? So we live in this world now where maybe not we have the assemblers or
Right.
who are just kind of there putting it together. Where I would think maybe more and more kids aren't even realizing how much artistic influence they have every single day.
Right.
If they are social media, creators or consumers of it. And they'll even encourage you oh yeah, you should just get even on YouTube, it'll tell you hey, here's a channel that's similar to yours. Now just go take their idea and do your own thing with it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so then maybe the way I assemble it all together is different, right? But it's I never really kind of thought of even though you're kind of stealing, it's not really stealing. I guess it's trying to re-enhance someone's art and get it put out there with your own spin on it. Does that make sense?
So one of my favorite professors, who was an art history professor, art is not created in a vacuum.
Yeah.
We are inspired by something. And we came from somewhere. There were cave drawings at one point. Now I can log on to my iPad and I can do a digital drawing. And I can immediately post it, immediately turn it into a sticker.
Yeah.
It's just incredible what we can do. But that didn't happen overnight. That also took the creation of an iPad, but I could draw something that looked like a cave drawing, but art is not created in a vacuum. And we look at history and how things evolve and are made and, different things. So it's always an inspiration from something.
Do you think some art though is just way overvalued?
It's funny you asked that. So in particular, if you look at Jackson Pollock, are you familiar with his work?
A little bit.
Okay. His is like splatter painting.
Right.
Right. And any person could walk by and say, I could do that. Yeah, but you didn't. He did it first. So, where you can say there's Mark Rothko color field paintings, which is just basically a big block of the color blue and maybe a little bit of red above it. You think, I could do that.
But you didn't.
But you didn't. So that's, the question of, there was, I think there was just a banana there was one artist that did just a banana with a nail through it and put it on the wall. I don't know. So it's just, are you familiar with Banksy, that artist? He is an anonymous graffiti artist. And I believe he originated out of London. So literally his artwork is graffiti and prints of graffiti. And he is still anonymous as far as I know.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, but it's graffiti. Now he sells his paintings in museums and actually pulls stunts he sold a painting, I think the Smithsonian, and where it erased into, like, as soon as it was sold, and I think it was at Sotheby's, Sotheby's, as soon as it was sold, it went into a shredder.
Really?
It's really, he is a very interesting artist. But he's a graffiti artist. I mean, you don't, to a normal person, you would never call graffiti high art, right? But he has kind of, because he's done it anonymously, and his messaging behind his art is pretty controversial sometimes. So it has made him famous anonymously.
Like politically or something, like politically charged. Yeah. Well, and my thoughts on overvalue is not someone else's thoughts, right? I guess that's why there's a market for everything, right? And maybe I see a nail through a banana, but someone else sees some crazy metaphor,
right,
or symbolism or something that I don't. But I do wonder, like with the splatter stuff, like, okay, what if I did my own splatter thing? There's going to be something about it, though, where they know that wasn't Jackson Pollock. Is that his name?
Right.
They know it's not a Jackson Pollock.
Right.
Well, why? I thought I splattered pretty well.
Because there aren't cigarettes in it. So there actually are, like, you can find cigarettes in his work. Yeah. It was, I think, the 1950s. He did most of his work.
Okay.
So, you'd have to put a few cigarettes
so
in it,
on the graffiti thing and murals, is it a matter of getting with like these building owners and landlords to allow murals to be painted, and that's, so I guess that's the one thing, like, where do you represent these murals in Madison? And then even if you had a great location, are they willing to allow this to happen? And then is that also a city council type thing on, we want this in our backyard?
Right.
Am I hitting on the right obstacles, if you will?
So all of the above plus more.
Okay.
So zoning. So we first had to work with the city, and we still are waiting for a final, yes or no, on zoning, on where the murals would be allowed. And that's important, so we have to work with the city. Then we have to work with, who does the building belong to? Is it zoned in the right area? Is it a private, owner? Is it public, property? And then we're doing a mural advisory board so that they make sure that there isn't anything being put up that, that fits that area. So we have a mural advisory board, and that's, it can boil down to, they don't like a color. Maybe
Sure.
they don't want it to be lime green, and then so we have the city, we have the property, we have insurance to worry about, and then we have the artist. So we kind of coordinate all of those things. The artist is a really interesting, it's the most fun part of it to me. And that's where I come in as a really good advocate for artists, because I want to make sure that artists are paid appropriately for those things. Then we've got to get grants and funding, and all of that. Can I go ahead and plug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your episode.
Okay. So we really need a lot of funding to get this up off the ground. If anyone is interested, you can reach out to me either through the Facebook page at Madison Arts Alliance or the Instagram page at Madison Arts Alliance. And we also have a website if you want to anonymously donate, not talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. But if you are interested in really coming on board and being a sponsor for one of the murals, that would be huge. And we can even do a plaque, and we can put your business or individual name on it. And those murals are going to be up, I think it's 7 to 10 years, and then they will need to be repainted. But sculptures, that's also an opportunity if we have anybody that would like to donate towards placing a public sculpture. And some of those sculptures, those bronze sculptures, if they are maintained well, they can last,
Long
years. Yeah. And then another big thing is programming. If we are going to do those programs for kids, we're going to need a lot of funding. And for different supplies like kilns and, theater props and painting supplies and, all of the stuff that we need, cooking materials, because there will be a kitchen in that community center. Funding is a big, big push for us right now. So if there's anyone listening that would like to help out in that way, please reach out to me, or you can anonymously donate through our website at madisonartsalliance.org. So
the funding, let's just talk about the mural real quick. On the funding side. So some of that funding goes to, I guess the landlord's going to want some funds, right, to allow this to happen on their property, and then of course pay the artist, and then I guess any of those fees related to the zoning and permitting process, correct? Well, kind of all goes into that.
Well, just like real estate, and this is kind of real estate prepared me for doing this too. Art prepared me for real estate because creative, and then real estate prepared me for this as well. Working with contracts. So every contract is different. Business owners are different. The funding is different. Maybe we can apply for a certain grant for this one because it's in this section of the city. So every single one of those contracts is going to look different.
Have you seen the mural that is on Valentina's?
Yes. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. I've had him on a couple times. And we talked about that a lot in episode 22.
Yeah.
Where they tried really hard to represent Alabama, tried really hard to represent different genders and races, and so that nobody could call foul on you didn't represent this. Yes, we did. They got the state bird in there. They got Nick Saban in there, but they also have Bo Jackson in there, and there's a lot of symbolism in it. It's pretty cool.
Fun fact: my uncle was Bo Jackson's track coach.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your uncle's name?
Dickie Atchison.
Wow.
Yeah, he's in some of the documentaries.
Well, for what it's worth, I go on record that Bo Jackson is the greatest athlete.
That's what my uncle always...
Of all time.
He talks... They both talk very highly of each other.
You weren't alive with Bo Jackson, were you?
I was.
Barely?
I think. Yeah. Yeah. So they're still good buds. And he's been great to my uncle through the charity that they have organized for my aunt who has passed away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Was that from an illness?
Yes.
Let's do this. Do you mind doing a little bit of look? Let's talk about the dogs.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah. Where do you want to begin?
Hold on. I'll bring it up here. Oh, actually, I do. I have it right here. This is your family shot.
Yeah.
From your, I think I took this from your Instagram or maybe your Facebook.
Look at that turkey.
But the what takes the cake is your tongue sticking out.
I know. What you don't know is my brother was squeezing my shoulders and making that. And, I was a very giggly child. So,
You were probably, 3 there?
Probably 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom wasn't that thrilled. But
was he squeezing with that left hand that we can see or a right hand somewhere else?
That left hand. Yeah. Yeah.
Were you guys pretty good about taking pictures every year?
No. That was probably our only family shot. It was for the church directory.
Okay.
So
I see.
My mom was not that happy with us that day, but she was at least a sport enough to buy the photo.
So this was like everybody in the congregation came through, they took your picture, and you either bought the photo or it didn't, but it ended up in the directory.
Right.
Okay. Kind of like the yearbook.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My wife is there's only been 1 year we've missed family pictures.
Yeah.
And we've been married 25 years now. 25. And it's so much easier now that my kids are older, but that age, just looking at you, like that was a tough age for kids to sit still. Yeah. There was one time we left Sears. We would do them at Sears. And that we had to leave because they were crying so bad. Like, we didn't get through the session. We had to come back.
Yeah.
I was like, this sucks.
I like candid photos so much better than posed photos.
Yeah.
I like the photos of kids playing in the backyard or,
Yeah.
you know, on the scooter.
Not forced.
Right. I just, or Christmas morning, them opening gifts. I just like the real photos.
Are you a photographer too?
I have a camera. I have taken some, I wouldn't call myself a professional photographer. Mostly it's just with the iPhone, but I do take some pretty good pictures. Some pretty interesting, it's just, I'll see something and I'll be like, I need to get a picture of that, but I'm not one that takes a lot of pictures of myself. It's more of, I want to capture what I see.
Yeah.
Right
before you came, my son was old. My 18-year-old's out on the back porch, like taking a nap, and on his tummy is my daughter's cat. Oh. So on one hand, it's pretty cool that, when our daughter moved in with us, the cat, it's taken a while for the cat to kind of warm up to the whole family. So it's nice when you have these little private victories where she's comfortable enough to just take a nap on. But it's also funny that he's taking a nap now that as your kids get older, like there's a period of time when they're young, they take a ton of naps. And then you have this period of time where they never sleep. They never take naps.
They don't want to.
And then they get old enough now where they're taking naps.
Yeah.
And I did try to take a picture through like the blinds.
Yeah.
Of them. Now I say that because that cat was a foster cat at one time. It was called a foster fail. She actually gave birth to like 6 cats. We get them all adopted, but the poor mom, nobody wants the mom.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with it. And then I know that you had doing some stuff with dogs, right? Okay, so now let me just go to, now I think we start, now who are these dogs?
So that is Gracie on the right. That's my baby.
Hey.
And then that is Jax on the left. And Jax got him, he's really my parents' dog. But he's really mine, right? So they got him earlier this year at our Smooches for Pooches event. A couple of us realtors at Essential Real Estate, we put on Smooches for Pooches, and I did the logo for it. I don't know if you have
I think
that.
it's right next. I think it's the next picture.
Oh, okay.
Is it that one?
That's part of it.
Oh.
That's just where are you pulling these from?
This is like your Facebook. Hold on.
Oh, okay. So there, the
Which
flyer,
one?
if you'll roll down to the flyer.
Right here.
Yeah. So I did the, and you can see the sponsors that we have for those.
Oh, yeah.
So I did the logo for that. That's my old dog, Max. And I really think I manifested Jax because Max was our old dog and Jax looks just like him. And so we did that at Butler Green down in Huntsville, and we set that up. We've done the Smooches for Pooches event twice. And we did one, and it corresponded with Father's Day. And there were a lot of people that came out. Rocket City Rescue comes out. They bring a bunch of dogs, some kittens, all available for adoption. They all are just so adorable.
Yeah.
You want to take every single one of them home with you. So we have a lot of dog lovers at Essential Real Estate, and we can only take so many animals. I'm sure you feel the same. So it's a way to promote, adoption without us having to take them home, So just getting out there and, we always encourage people to come out to those events. Rocket City Rescue, they do a bunch of events. I've seen them at the camp with dogs. We did our event with them. So they're constantly bringing dogs, that are available for adoption so that people who maybe aren't looking but kind of end up with a dog that they love.
Get it? Yeah.
Yeah, just getting them out there. Yeah.
Where are they located? Rocket City Rescue?
I'm not exactly sure. Somewhere in Huntsville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could literally, this would sound really strange, but I would probably want to adopt them all. Like once you've made eye contact and they give you those puppy dog eyes,
I know.
or you see some aspect of their fun personality, like how do you turn that animal away?
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. You have to be like almost not human. Mm-hmm. Is there any other, let's see now here, it might be easier to look on the top, but is there any one of these you want me to highlight or all of them?
If you'll go down a little bit.
Okay. I can make this a little bigger.
I know that there was like a little dog. It was this one. I don't know if it's still available.
This one here?
Yeah.
Bama?
Yes, I loved that
Oh,
little
look at
dog.
that. Matches the floor too.
Yes. I loved that little dog. Want to take that one home.
It's
I'm
like a
not sure.
Chihuahua mix.
Yeah.
Mixed with something. And okay, so you fell in love with Bama.
I did, but it seemed like this dog like was really connected with one of the people from Rocket City Rescue. So, but that's a great thing, you know? So we have plenty of dogs, that are available, you know, through Rocket City Rescue or Huntsville Animal Service or Limestone County Animal, Shelter. So there's plenty of dogs out there that are looking for a home.
Let me just go back to this flyer just to highlight this, because I think it's, you know, there's a lot of effort and time, let alone just the artistic approach to. I've done this many times. Like, all right, well, how's this flyer going to look? Right. As we kind of go back to the sounds of summer, and this is from this year, right? And this was June 8th, the Groove, and you had 5 performances at the amphitheater. We have 5 performances. Okay. And Groove was excellent. All of our bands were wonderful. I got the references for bands from Parks and Rec. They had worked with them, you know, 4 out of the 5 bands, I think. No, 3 out of the 5 they had worked with prior, and they gave great referrals for each. That was Groove, the Zooks, and Calypso Vision. They spoke highly of, so we just asked them back. All of the bands were wonderful to work with, and it was great to have those referrals. Are these mostly people that they have jobs and they do this on the side as a passion, or are they full-time musicians? I believe 4 out of the 5 bands, it's a side gig. Yeah. But one, Luna Coy, who was the last one with Kelly Joyner and Chris McDonald, I believe they are full-time musicians because they have an album that's coming out this winter. Gotcha. And it's Luna Coy. Luna Coy. Mm-hmm. Were you here in, was it 20? No, 20. It must have been 2019 when they did the like worldwide competition for that song. It was commemorating like the 50th anniversary of the lunar landing. Right. And that young lady, I'm trying to remember her name, was selected. Were you here for that? Huntsville did that, right? And they did this worldwide, like to basically write a song, I think, to commemorate the 50th. Right. Gosh, I should have prepared. I didn't think I would bring this up. Yeah. But it's a really cool song. Yeah. Rocket Girl. It was okay. Shoot. She was on the She Boss podcast with Megan. They interviewed her, but I wasn't sure if you were aware of that enough in the music scene to know. I know they had like dancing in the street that summer. Like they had a lot going on that summer. Yeah. So that would have been a cool time to be here. Mm-hmm. When did you move here? Christmas of 21. Okay. So really, you've met a lot of people in a short amount of time. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It started with the pandas. Right. I literally, I hope you don't mind me. Like, I always like to give as much context as I can, but I kind of felt like there's an alternate ending in Finding Nemo when they get out of the fish tank, right, and they end up in the Sydney Harbor, and then off they go or whatever. There's an alternate ending where they're in these Ziploc bags and they end up in the Sydney Harbor. And then they kind of realize like, well, this was a good plan until now. And that's like, now what? What do we do? Right. Well, now we're floating in these bags or something. But it was just kind of this now what moment. And so here I am, like I've literally spent all my professional career in Virginia, and I finally get this chance to get to Huntsville. It happens really fast, like extremely fast. I came back on October 1 from a summit, the Cyber Summit, at Von Braun, and I told my wife, like, this is it, we're doing it. And we had sold our house like within 2 weeks of that in Virginia. It was a hot market, it's gone, and then we had bought a house here by like mid-November, and we moved in like right before Christmas, just like crazy, right? And then I end up I had to go back and forth for a couple weeks because I had to transition the work to my old deputy took my job, and I had to transition some stuff in this contract I was running. And so then I end up here Monday. So you got at least to manage like 163 people, very, very busy office,
Right.
10 to 11 hours a day, plus 2 hours on the road every day, just intense, shirt and tie every day. And now I'm like sitting in a desk that's no longer here up in my studio. And I'm like, now what? It's like Monday. Like, what do I do? I
Right.
don't know anybody.
Right.
But my job is business development, market development for Mantech. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I just kind of start going out to LinkedIn and just kind of looking around like, oh, the Trash Pandas are holding a business mixer. Let me mark that down.
Yeah.
It was like a week and a half away. Okay, what can I do? There's just one person I met at the Cyber Summit. Let me see if I can meet with them. And then little by little, you just meet someone and meet someone and meet someone. I went to this mixer and they, I end up sponsoring one of the games, which led me to, and so some of it's my normal job, plus it's the podcast, right? Which just started leading me to booking guests and having this idea of a podcast in the first place. And yeah, here we are, like not even a year and a half later. Well, a year and a half since I moved here. And it's like, wow, I really have met a lot of people.
Right.
But at the same time, and I'm so glad you're on, because now I feel like I've had all this focus on North Alabama. I've had some focus on Huntsville. And I'm trying, a lot of my later episodes have now been good on like Madison.
Right.
I've had some guests where we talked Decatur, Morgan County, a little bit of Limestone County, but I'm really excited right now to be talking Madison City.
Right. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. And you know everybody.
I
So
do know a lot of people.
I should just go through you. On who should I talk to next?
Yeah. I can give you some suggestions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you want to cover? What have we not talked about to this point in the hour and a half we've been talking?
I want to give credit to Madison Visionary Partners.
Yeah, please.
That is just an incredible organization that it would not be possible for us to run without. They've got some big projects right now. And the stuff that they do, there's the renovation of Kids Kingdom. There's the community center, Miracle League, Arts Alliance. They have really, Splash Pad. They have really taken on a lot of projects. And, do you want to tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm now a member of the board of directors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I met Madison. So I sponsored, and this is what's great for me, is when I do something through my normal job, and then it kind of just indirectly helps me, of course, with the podcast, where they had an awards luncheon at Toyota Field, and they were looking for sponsors, and I, through Mantech, got a table, donated money, and then and that was through Mecca, who I met a long time ago, because the 256 Today runs an article. I actually kind of write the article every week.
Okay.
And it's been fun. I'm like, hey, I'm like a little bit of a journalist.
Yeah.
But so ever since episode 24 with Dylan Smith, I have written a little blurb that becomes the blurb when I promote an episode on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. They all get the same blurb. And that's the paragraph or two that runs in the 256 Today on Thursdays.
Gotcha.
And then they run the links to my episode. And so that's how I met Mecca and Allison Cannon, right? Allison Ross.
Okay.
Allison Ross. And then Mecca hits me up and says, hey, would you want to be involved in this thing? Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And then I do that. And of course, then I meet Mark Brazil from Mazda Toyota at the dinner or the lunch that we sponsored. And then at some point I had told Mecca and crew, like, hey, I'd like to get more involved. And then they nominated him to be on the board. And so with Melanie Thornton. And I'm actually going to meet with her tomorrow.
She told me.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, I talked to her this morning. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And, I've already signed up to help volunteer at the Madison City Festival. And I think when we talk tomorrow, it's going to be kind of about what specific communities and things, and fundraising opportunities and who do I know and all that. So it's exciting.
It is exciting.
And now I should have known all along that the keys of relationships is Rosalie.
No, that's silly. But you do need to talk to Crystal McBrayer with Madison Street Festival. I'll give you her number.
Okay.
Because she is absolutely wonderful and works so hard and along with her board, Madison Street Festival is a fully volunteer based festival in Madison. It's the biggest festival in Madison. Have you gone?
So last year, I'm trying to remember there was a conflict. I don't remember why, but it's also, I chalk it up to, in my last year was our first full year here. It was kind of calendar and fiscal year. I was aware of things, then I missed a bunch of things. You know, you like find out through people's posts, like, we had a wonderful street festival today. Like, I didn't know about it.
Right.
So I've tried hard to say, okay, next year I'm not going to miss that. And then, but there was some reason, I can't remember what it was. We also do like a day of service.
Right.
I know that nationally there's like September, whatever day. It's typically the second Saturday in September. It's coming up.
It's first Saturday of October, so I believe
really?
it's October
For the street festival.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the National Day of Service.
Gotcha.
And for some reason, that might have happened last year where it got rained out and then rescheduled, because we do it like through church and stuff.
Got it.
And I believe I was doing some service at some elementary school that day, and it just happened to, you know, I was already committed to it, and I didn't do the street festival.
Got it.
But this year, I will be there.
You will have to be there because it is huge.
It's been going on for years.
Oh yeah, at least 20 years.
And what does it showcase?
Everything. So there's like a car show. There's Artist Alley where art vendors are there. There's a parade. There's business vendors. There's organizations, you know, different nonprofits that are there. There's Crafters Cove. There's food trucks. There's bands. There's, you know, it's huge. It is a huge thing that they do every year, and it's fully volunteer based.
And does it benefit the city?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's like a city fundraiser.
No, it benefits the city, but doesn't benefit the city.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or does it just benefit all of those vendors?
It is a 501c3.
Okay.
501c3, and then they provide grant money to different people. So that's part of the money that's raised. They send back, you know, into our community.
I see.
So, but you talk to Crystal more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's in charge of the entire thing.
She is. She's wonderful.
So do you have a vision where you want a separate Madison Arts Festival?
I would love that. And there are, like I said, short-term things that we can accomplish, and then long-term things. You know, Panoply. Have you been to Panoply?
That was another one that
Okay.
I missed for whatever reason 2 years in a row.
Yeah, Panoply.
I'm a very busy person, Rosalie.
I hear it. Panoply is an incredible arts festival that Arts Huntsville puts on. But Arts Huntsville, I mean, it wasn't always that. I mean, they have really, really done it well there. So in Madison Street Festival and Madison Arts Council, you got to start somewhere. So I would love to do a large, you know, art festival at some point, or even a cultural festival would be fun. There's a lot going on at the Orion and in Huntsville, and we just need more things in Madison. That's my opinion.
Has there at any time been like the amusement side of the street festival where are there already carnival rides, or is that something that didn't work out and they went away from it?
Not that I'm aware. I mean, I'm not looking for them.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But I think that they have like a kids petting zoo area. They have a student art tent. So you know, they have plenty of things for kids there.
Plus you have the whole festival that comes into Toyota Field.
Right.
Right, the kids' carnival, if you will, they can go to. I've just been a sucker. I've always been a big fan of carnivals.
Right.
And but at the same time, I realize there's a lot of liability with those things, and there's been a lot of accidents. And sometimes you're like, wait a minute, how did that thing get here?
Right.
You're like, oh, on a truck, and they just like, you know,
they took it apart and
they took it apart and put it back
welded it. You know, you can like watch it jump. You know,
that's
off
right.
the
You're a
ground.
tack welder.
I'm a MIG welder.
MIG welder.
Yeah. So I have definitely been guilty of looking at the carnival rides while I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh no, that's a bad weld. You know?
You might be one in the minority of that.
Yeah.
Like 1% of people, right? I don't know enough about welding.
Yeah.
I do think about those things from time to time. Usually when I'm at like a super height, you know, I'm like, Oh man, what's holding us up here?
Yeah. I want to talk a minute about my board. If
Please.
you have time. Okay.
Of course.
So we've got a really incredible group of people that have come together for our board. We have Dwayne Kraft, who is the Fine Arts Director for Huntsville City Schools. And he was previously the Director of Theater for Bob Jones High School. We have Candace Cooper, who worked with Fantasy Playhouse as a program director with Fantasy Playhouse for a long time. We have Katie Moore, who is the branch manager at the Madison Library. And then we have, let me think, who else? Mallory Hagan. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Okay.
No.
She is one of the former Miss Americas.
Okay.
Yeah. And she ran for House last fall. So she is on our board and she is fabulous. And her form of art is dance.
Okay.
And then we have Connie, think of her last name. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. And she is one of the directors for the Huntsville Madison County Public Library.
Okay.
So, and I think I've got an Adam Landingham. He is an art teacher in Huntsville City Schools, I believe. I think at Lee High School.
Okay.
And so we have quite a bit of people. And then our city council liaison is Mara Roblowski, District 1, who she took over from my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your role is, are you the president of the board?
I am.
Got it. Mm-hmm. How often do you all meet?
Twice a month. We once in person and once on Zoom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we have other people who are involved, but not necessarily on the board. But honestly, I'm thinking we need to bring other people in because we have some really talented, like Quay Pitts is our videographer, and he's also a photographer. If you ever need any video work, he does fun stuff. He's with Infinite Exposures.
Okay.
And he's growing his business. We have Hunter Vrunlin with, he's a ceramics guy. He went to Montevallo. We have Chris Sexton. We just have a lot of wonderful people. Katie Kraft, who is an art teacher. So we have a lot of really wonderful people and people from different areas, dance, music, theater. So I don't know anything about music or theater, so it's good to have them there because I can talk all day about visual art. I just can't talk all day about music or theater. So it's really good that, and then we named it Madison Arts Alliance for that reason, because we want to represent all of the arts.
And so I guess something like with the street festival, then it's all hands on deck. All of the board will have some role. Mm-hmm. And then are there other, is that the case for any event you do or you need everybody, or is it kind of divide and conquer across different events you might have throughout the year? Does that make sense?
So I've worked on Madison Street Festival. So I'm somewhat familiar how they run. I'm not sure. I haven't been to one of their board meetings in years.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they're running the same way or differently, but that's a good question for Crystal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Mm-hmm. And what, I guess, with the board you have now, has that opened up new opportunities of things that you didn't even foresee? Now you just have their ideas that they're contributing, and you're having these brainstorming sessions, these aha moments. Are there some new, even more exciting things that are going to come to pass because of how the board is comprised now?
So yes, and that's what's really cool is everybody's talents are different, strengths are different. Because Mallory ran for House, she was familiar with billboards.
Okay.
So she got us, a spot on one of the digital billboards. I don't have that knowledge, but she does. Everybody has their strengths. Some people are better at writing grants. Some people are better at organization. Connie Chow, I thought of her last name. She's in charge of, our financials, looking through different receipts. I would not want to do that, so
building a good team then.
Yeah. And that's what's good is we all need to recognize that we have different strengths.
Yeah.
I cannot do what Connie does or what Candace does because she's a secretary. She's supposed to be the organizer. Not me. ADHD, where's that paper?
Non-medicated ADHD.
Yeah. But I'm really good at problem solving and, seeing a vision.
Yeah.
So,
and welding.
Yeah. And welding and painting and drawing. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have some questions for you.
Okay.
I call it the quick six.
Okay.
Actually, we'll just call it the six.
Okay.
And, but I think I have 8 questions.
Okay.
Okay. Most of these should be pretty short answers. Some of them might be a little bit longer.
Okay.
Now, let's see. Oh, yeah. I have to make sure I read my handwriting. I was looking over, should I put my glasses on? What is the most underrated form of art, in your opinion? Is it metal sculptures?
I would say sculptures, probably. I mean,
Really?
that's maybe because I am a sculptor. I don't know.
Okay. It's a tough question.
Yeah.
Best gift you have ever given someone?
Well, it would definitely be an art piece. I don't know if you've looked through any of my art. I have done a lot of animal portraits, dog and cat portraits that bring people to tears,
Really?
when they're memorial portraits.
Yeah.
Yeah. They bring people to tears. I've done a lot of artwork. So that
That's
just
cool.
really is very moving for people. And I started doing dog portraits when I started in real estate, and I was kind of building up my, database. And that's kind of what kept me afloat is doing dog portraits at night. And that's where I started.
Somewhat therapeutic for you too?
Oh yeah. I have to, I get cranky if I don't do any art. It's kind of like drinking water for me,
Okay. What's your favorite color?
Red.
Red.
Mm-hmm.
You have a beautiful orange blouse
Yeah.
on today.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go with red today?
No, not today. But I feel red is powerful and confident and bold.
Yeah.
So I love red.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
A restaurant that you miss that used to be in this area, whether it's Madison or Greater Huntsville, something you miss.
Oh, Cork and Crust. They're
yeah.
closing Cork and Crust. That's going to be a bummer. I don't know if they've already closed, but that's a big bummer.
Gosh, there's been a lot of bummer news lately.
Yeah.
I saw Fow Wow had posted something. Well, he had to back out of his brick and mortar location he had downtown, the t-shirt guy. And but then there was just this string of announcements of companies closing, some of the breweries or coffee shops, and Cork and Crust is right here.
I know.
Okay. I don't think I'd ever gone there.
Oh,
It was amazing,
wonderful.
huh?
Wonderful. Yeah. Locally owned and excellent food, excellent service.
Who is your biggest influence?
My biggest influence. I'd have to go with a whole group of people. I'm inspired by other artists that I see, artists that I went to, college with, Bob Jones with, my friends that are killing it in their careers, my brother, my parents, just the keep going attitude is good. You know, keep pushing.
You're I think a lot like me, where I can't ever really just give you one answer. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
Even with colors, well, okay, I'm going to say royal blue,
Right.
but I really do yellow. Well, I like gray.
Right.
Okay. A celebrity that if you saw them, you would just look the other way.
I don't know.
Don't care to meet them.
Yeah. I actually don't really care to meet any celebrities. I don't,
You're not starstruck.
I think that they're humans and they kind of should be left alone. I mean, I don't know. I know that they some of them like having fans, but I just couldn't imagine going to the grocery store or the airport and getting hunted down by people.
Yeah.
That would be uncomfortable.
I was actually I was at Walmart the other day and I was trying to imagine that. I was just thinking about that. What if I was someone famous and I wouldn't even be able to have made it this far in the store yet?
Right.
You know,
How isolating.
Like if a Brad Pitt goes in or whomever, even if they don't come up to you,
right.
they're talking, right?
Right.
There's just this known, it's everybody knows and it's going to spread like that. As much as I think we would like that.
Right.
Sometimes it's nice just to be able to go into Walmart or wherever and leave.
Right.
Right. And go about your day. I think I already know the answer to this because we just talked about it, but how do you relieve stress? How do you just decompress? Your art? And is there a go-to then?
Okay. Art, TikTok, because we talked about that. I do love TikTok. Movies, getting outside, sitting on the patio. I started walking again recently and starting to run, getting back into shape. So those things mostly.
See, you're like me.
Yeah.
You rattle off a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I like it. Give me an aspect of, I guess I'm assuming you have some sort of dream house in your mind, right? You're a real estate agent. You've helped a lot of people buy a home, whether it was their home or their dream home, starter home. You've seen a lot of cool aspects of homes.
Right.
What is that aspect of a home for you that you can't wait to have when you have like total control of, and say and input into that? Does that make sense?
I would love to have a pool in my backyard and like an entertaining area outside. That is something that it would be a must-have for me at some point in my life,
Saltwater pool?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be definitely on a must-have list.
All right. With a big deep end and a diving board?
Another fun fact, I'm a certified scuba diver.
Are you?
I am. My dad insisted my brother and I get certified. So we were a scuba diving family. So I got certified at 12, which is a little bit young. So yeah, that would be really fun to do, check dives in your pool and, have you ever been scuba diving?
No, I love snorkeling. I'm assuming that whenever I looked into doing pad eye or whatever, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason at the time, life was like, I can't justify this right now.
Yeah.
That process, but I've always wanted to. My brother is certified.
Yeah.
And my aunt, she's the type that will go all over the world, like kind of every other year, kind of bucket list trips to dive somewhere, and it's just an incredible experience. And I've never done it.
I will tell you, it is an expensive hobby because diving in the Gulf, visibility is usually not great. So if you're going to do it, you got to go to the Caymans or to,
Caribbean.
Yeah. And so, it is a very, very cool experience. And you see, it's just really interesting to see, an octopus underwater and, stingray and sharks.
And their natural habitat.
Right. It's very, very interesting. But that hobby really stacks up pretty quickly, on finances. So
we were, the best experience I've had just on the snorkeling side is we were just in Hawaii. And have you ever been to Oahu?
I have not.
On the west side, there's a plant of some sort. Might be a nuclear plant, and it spills out warm water out into the ocean, probably about 300 yards off the shore. And so it draws a lot of extra like marine life because it's warm in that area. So you kind of, you have your fins on and you snorkel out there. And then you go we went at a time of year where, the Pacific, of course, is colder, even in Hawaii, but it was, I don't know, temperature, but it was a little bit chilly. And then you enter this beautiful warm space, and then like, whoa, like the fish were different. And then dolphin were coming through, and then the sea turtles were coming through. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I've done some cool snorkeling and different pockets, and sometimes there's just fish, and sometimes there's just turtles. And it was like this amazing mix of all these things together. And then of course we had to leave and go back into the cold water, and then it felt freezing because you were just in the warm water.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool experience. But I would love to get down in scuba.
Yeah.
Never any fear though about like pressure and all that and your equipment failing? You got the training you need?
I started at 12 and I didn't have the sense to be afraid. I was like, oh, this is fun. You
So
know?
scuba and T-ball, that's what you were forced to do.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, all right. You know,
Well,
piano
Rosalie,
lessons.
it's been fun having you.
Well, awesome.
Do you have any final shout outs? Final thoughts?
The city has been great to work with. We're just trucking along with Arts Alliance, and we've got big goals, and we very much need we need some funding, and we can think of creative opportunities, you know, for naming purposes, that kind of stuff. So please, if anybody's listening, reach out. I would be glad to talk through some different options of what we can do.
Excellent. Well, be safe. I'm definitely will be talking to you soon with our joint efforts with the partners, visionary partners. And I wish you the best.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate it.
And I'll see you at the street festival as well.
All right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Goodbye.